In his first address to officials from 20 leading economic groups since occupation Ukraine, President Vladimir V, Putin rejected criticism that aggression of war was shocking and accused Western nations of double standard. He described the war in Ukraine, which appeared in a virtual meeting of the G20, as a tragedy which should be stopped, and said that Russia has never rejected to enter peace negotiations. For Mr. Putin, it has been a rare interaction with Western leaders since the beginning of the war last year. Putin said, some of his colleagues say that they were shocked by the Russian aggression in Ukraine. Military actions are always tragedy as a whole of certain people, families and the country, and we need to think about ways to stop this tragedy. He delivered his 8-minute address at an event hosted by India as a follow-up of the G20 meeting in September. He said that situation of civilians he calls destruction ında in Gaza is shocking, and that West is willing to ignore aggression there, he repeated frequently. Mr. Putin and other best Russian officials have applied in recent years a tactical example to blame the West, often bending the truth, as a way to mislead your attention on its own. Instead of using the Kremlin's special military operation, Mr. Putin mentioned the war in Ukraine as a war. Orum I understand that this war and loss of life cannot be shocked, he said. Mr. Putin repeated that Russia was ready to negotiate and accused Ukraine for refusing negotiations. However, for all negotiation speeches, Mr. Putin did not show that the aim of bringing Russian domination was not willing bring Ukraine back. Russian domination declare that 4 southern and eastern regions were part of Russia. Last year, Ukraine stated that the need to liberate all the lands occupied by Russia before negotiating for peace. Mr. Putin also listed various complaints of Russia against the West, such as overthrow of Russia's Russian-prone President Viktor F. Yanukovych in Ukraine. The Russian leader's address stressed how the world was broken by the war. When G20 summit took place in September, absence Mr. Putin and China's leader Xi Jinping was an open indicator of deterioration. Global consensus, represented by Qiang. The war in Ukraine threw a long shadow on India's hosting G20 this year, and conflicts that make the conflict consensus difficult. India, the host of the group this year, tried to focus on issues extending from global debt to climate financing. Delhi wanted to focus on the economic wages of the poor nations. During the negotiations, Western countries led by the United States wanted to force Russia's condemnation of Ukraine to discussions in all matters.